Let's go back into the courtroom now. We are about to hear a statement from Dima Tower himself.
You want to assist?
I'll do what I can, Your Honor. Can you please just state your name for the court reporter, please?
Dima Tower.
And given what the court has talked to you about, what is it that you want Judge Krug to know prior to imposing a sentence?
What I have to say is our feelings block out our intellect, so I must ignore the irrational testimonies I heard about the life that I had with adopted parents of mine, and prior to that, I must only speak the truth. However, I've been told that I have limited time, and there's much to say that I expect these adults to understand me talking to them as adults to adults. I had 2 years and 2 months of dwelling on this. And the conclusion I have come to is not only that everything evolves around God, that we must understand that we live in an unmanly world. And what this means is...
Mr. Tower, I'm not concerned about what world you believe in. Do you wish to offer an apology and remorse to the victims?
Yes, I am. I'm getting to that, yes.
Cut right to it. I don't want to hear what world you think you live in.
Well, I'm gonna cut right to it.
Thank you.
The remorse that I have for my adopted parents is, it might be unshown, that doesn't mean it's not felt. Because when I committed these acts of crime, I lost my mind, and somebody might think that I knew what I was doing. I did not know what I was doing. It was...
Tower, do you wish to offer an apology?
I am on offer an apology. I'm explaining an apology. I'm explaining an apology. I'm in the middle of apology. Apology is that the truth is that there are a lot of fatherless children out there, and my apology in this is that nobody want to be held accountable for their actions, and I'm being held accountable for the actions of grown men. So my apology is that I have to be responsible for what Oscar did to his children and what Phil did to his children. And how can I apologize for the mistreatment that Oscar, as a stepfather...
All right, I'm going to have the defendant removed from the stand. He's choosing not to give an apology. I'm sorry to the family in the courtroom. I wanted to give an opportunity for you to have to hear from the defendant, to perhaps hear an apology and remorse. I think that is not forthcoming, as we all saw. Mr. Gilman, anything else from the defense?
Nothing.
Okay, let's hear.
All right, that wraps up the defense's presentation in front of this judge. Let's bring back in former Deputy Public Defender for LA County, Philip Dubé. I'm sure you have some strong thoughts on how the judge handled this portion of the sentencing. It's certainly uncomfortable, but we often see the defendant get the opportunity to speak during their own sentencing.
Yeah, I think this judge has got his head in the sand regarding mental defects and disorders. I got to tell you, where I practice, any judge who sees these types of statements in open court would declare a doubt, sua sponte, as they say, on their own motion as to that defendant's competency to proceed. He cannot formulate a sentence. It's almost like a thought disorder. It's beyond being phonetically challenged. There is something going on in this kid's brain, and it is definitely some offshoot of the antisocial personality disorder. Sometimes they call it love killing. And in the love killing sort of phenomenon in forensics, they do not know how to receive love. They have sort of a misperceived sense of who their enemies are, and it's unclear what the cause of it is. Some people ascribe it to that nature versus nurture effect, where, you know, it's inborn, it's genetic, it's in utero, so to speak. Some people think it's environmental. Certainly not the way he was nurtured at home, but he may have been in a Ukraine environment where maybe, who knows, maybe there was lead in the water, lead in the atmosphere, lead leaching into the soil that has really damaged this kid's brain. And unfortunately, unless and until you get a justice system that's willing to really take a deep dive into that, you get these types of outcomes. This kid truly doesn't understand what he's saying. It's completely irrational. So hopefully counsel steps up and declares a doubt and sends the kid to the hospital, and they can proceed with sentencing once he's restored.
Philip, let me ask you about this. You know, you mentioned the nature versus nurture. We've had some people write in on social media talking about that, also saying that when Dima was on the stand, they would have liked to hear more about his background. He was wanting to talk more about what happened prior to the passing of his mother. Can you kind of explain to our viewers or talk about why a lot of that information was not allowed? The prosecutor was objecting, the judge didn't allow him to speak on that.
This is my guess. First of all, he cannot self-diagnose. He cannot take the stand and say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I have a conduct disorder. I have a personality disorder. He's just a layperson. You have to put an expert on who has met with this young man, who has psychoanalyzed him, administered a series of tests, and checked for that. And it sounds like, and I've never met defense counsel, that they probably had a host of experts look at this young man, and they all came back with the same opinion, that A, he's competent, meaning he understands the nature of the proceedings, and he can rationally assist with his lawyer. So unless and until you get an expert on the stand who says something to the contrary, it's not coming in. It's an inadmissible lay opinion, and you don't have an expert coming into court to educate the jury and the court on those mental illnesses. So what he's trying to do, or did try to do, is insert his own mental defect to imply that he was either temporarily or permanently out of his mind. And a layperson cannot do that. They're just simply not competent to testify to that aspect. It's illegal.
Philip, thanks so much for breaking that down.